All right, so people freaked out. This stuff is so predictable. Everybody's freaking out with Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese is picking on her and hard fouls. Okay. Major League Baseball is a good comp here because Major League Baseball and the WNBA always feel like they're ignored, very protective of, it's a way to play the game, very insular. It's very much a pay your dues mentality. So when good-looking, cool Bryce Harper came into Major League Baseball, basically out of high school and a little minor league, he got into a fistfight with one of his teammates. They were throwing at him. It was very much, oh, you're the prodigy. You're the hot shot. And it didn't last 6-7 games. It lasted like 3 years. You heard a lot of this preachy stuff. There's a way to play the game. Baseball's very, very insular. There's a way to play the game. There's unwritten rules, although players can never tell me what the unwritten rules are. They change per player. And the WNBA similarly ignored, lamenting the publicity, and here comes the Iowa hotshot, and it's pay your dues time. And they're pushing her around. There's flagrant fouls. The WNBA, to a fault, has a little bit of a us versus everybody else. And Caitlin Clark's an outsider, and they're going to make her pay her dues. We've seen this in music. Remember the VMA?
This already makes no sense because Angel Reese is the one that fouled her. Angel Reese is a rookie. Angel Reese should be just as much of an outsider as Caitlin Clark. So everything he's setting up right now, to me, is already just not making any sense.
Awards, Kanye West, Taylor Swift. I've seen this stuff before, and so have you. Is it race? Is it jealousy? It's probably a little bit of both. There's all sorts of things converging here. You see it in fraternities, hazing. You see it in military, insular, very tribal, certain societies. This is how we operate. By the way, when I used to take phone calls, when I just did radio, every guy that called defended hazing. So why does this bother you? You loved hazing. You defended hazing. This is hazing.
Because the world has changed drastically since you were doing just radio and taking calls. Like, obviously, we have evolved as a society. Like, what are you talking about? We've gone through so many different transitions of like how sports is played, how we treat athletes. Like, everything has changed over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Even hazing, college hazing, you used to be able to haze your fraternity pledges for like months and months. It used to be able to last like the entire semester. Then they capped it and said you could only do 8 weeks. If you are like an official fraternity, on a major college university, you can only have your pledge for 8 weeks. No more, no matter where you are. It's like the law. It's like the literal law now. As well as you're limited now. They used to be able to do some wild stuff, and you're not allowed to do that anymore. They cracked down on it, and rightfully so, because it is abusive. And it is just fundamentally wrong. So this whole idea that hazing is okay, that's just nonsense. Bryce Harper was furious because they could end his career throwing a 98-mile-per-hour fastball at him. I mean, you can get truly injured. So you're literally, through this hazing process, you could be ruining someone's career. What if they did that? What if they shattered Bryce Harper's arm or hand, or hit him in the head, and now he can't see as good, and now then the whole conversation is all about, why do we haze? What is wrong with us? We need to evolve as a society, and I guarantee you, Colin and other people would be saying that. But the other day, someone said that Caitlin Clark might not even make it through her career because she's taking so much hits. And that, her career could be ruined. And I originally scoffed at that. I was like, okay, you're taking that too far and too extreme. And now I don't want to act like I'm now on that side, but I'm definitely seeing that argument a little bit more clearer now. Now I'm kind of like, huh. Because again, this physical play is good, and it's good for the game. It is exciting, and it's like kind of like, right? It makes you cheer for Caitlin Clark more and hate on or boo Angel Reese even more. right? So like it's good. It helps, you know, feed all that. It helps feed that rivalry, which will be exciting to watch for years to come. But you know, it's still something that another rookie like Angel Reese is going to be responsible for hazing another rookie, Caitlin Clark, because she's an outsider. Why is she the outsider and Angel Reese isn't the outsider then? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
But not nearly as ugly as the private hazing that we've had historically at fraternities and the military. It's a flagrant foul of which the NBA and the WNBA have about the same number per game. NBA had 130 this year. WNBA last year had like 65, which is half, but they have half the games. So, again, to me, this is all very predictable. It is the WNBA. This is what Bryce Harper went through. He went through it for years. I don't think she will. She's a very good basketball player. She's getting better. She's now at 16 a game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. She's great with the ball in her hands. She's fantastic. She sees the floor. She's a brilliant passer. It's all working out. But this is predictable, that the media doesn't quite know what to do with it, yet the women, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, do. This is a win for women's basketball. These flagrant fouls are a win. Yeah, I defended Draymond Green forever, so I'm going to be outraged by this? It's a flagrant foul. She got up and played.
Okay. He's really missing the forest for the trees here because he's talking about just flagrant fouls in general, and that's fine. But they're happening on Caitlin Clark. There's an extra level of physicality towards Caitlin Clark that's not happening. If they were doing it to Angel Reese or any of these other rookies, then you could make that argument. Or if it was just happening in the WNBA as a whole. But Caitlin Clark is being targeted. And you would have the same issues if it was LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Wembanyama. Wembanyama came into the league and everyone just started clotheslining him. You would be saying, grow up. Stop, targeting Wembanyama because you feel threatened by his greatness. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that against Wembanyama because he's so tall. But it just doesn't make sense. So, again, if this was all spread out, and I don't want to act like Caitlin Clark's the only one who's getting fouled here because I'm not saying that either. But it's absolutely heightened on Caitlin Clark. And it's not just hard basketball. You have to ask yourself, what are the motives for it? Because then Angel Reese even then tries to cry victim. In the press conference, she said, oh, I guess someone gets a special whistle. She's like denying that was a flagrant foul when she literally clotheslined her face and slammed her into the ground. That's a flagrant foul everywhere. In fact, sometimes in the WNBA, that might even be a flagrant 2 foul. So I reject this idea. Like, we're allowed to have these conversations and talk about it. So I feel like Colin's kind of gaslighting us all. Like, no one's freaking out and saying like, well, and if they are, they're not really loud, but like that Angel Reese needs to be suspended and Caitlin Clark needs to be protected. Like, people aren't necessarily saying that. But when this is all happening for Caitlin Clark, for the sheer fact that she's a good, really wildly popular player, you realize the games with Caitlin Clark are tripling the ratings relative to the non-Caitlin Clark games. Like, it's just jealousy. It's not a hazing. It's pure jealousy. And so for Colin to act like that's okay or appropriate, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Imagine if they do hurt Caitlin Clark. Imagine if she does roll an ankle or get a concussion and now she's missing games. That's bad for the WNBA. Not good.
Okay? Like, there's a reason, there's a classification for this foul. Because you get about 130 a year in the NBA. And by the way, women who have committed flagrant fouls are not all villains. Diana Taurasi had one last year. Is she a villain? No. It's part of basketball. It's, every industry's got a little ugly side, a little provincial side, a little tribal side. This is it in basketball. NBA and the WNBA. But I'll say it again. The women are figuring out how to handle it. It's the people who parachute into this sport that never watched it that don't understand the chippiness that you get in the WNBA. When I was a local sports anchor, and let's say my local team, the Portland Trail Blazers or somebody, did very, very well, then the news anchors who didn't know sports would suddenly start talking sports and try to cover it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. That's just sports. I'm feeling a lot of that here, where people that don't watch the WNBA, I'm one of them, parachute in and are outraged. Spare me on your outrage when, like 6 months ago, you didn't know the league existed. You can have an opinion that's counter to mine or doesn't align with mine, but I'm so over outrage. Everybody's outraged on the internet. Everybody's outraged on TikTok. Give me a break. If you didn't know something existed 6 months ago or didn't watch it, I'm not interested in your outrage today.
Okay. I don't know what outrage he's talking about necessarily. Like, if you guys know in terms of like what other people are saying and what they're calling for, I don't know. But if people are just angry that Caitlin Clark keeps getting all of these hard physical fouls on her game after game after game, that's not like an inappropriate outrage. It's just not. I mean, just imagine if it was reversed. Imagine if we reversed the way these players looked. Tell me if that outrage would be unnecessary. Because I know a lot of TV personalities would be freaking out. And it would be on First Take. It would be on First Things First. It would be on The Herd. Speak. We know definitely Speak. It would be on The View. You'd have, I don't even want to say their names. I don't even know any of their names, honestly. I think the one woman's name is Sunny or whatever. They would all be freaking out. They would all be talking about privilege this, privilege that, privilege all of that nonsense. And like that's where this whole conversation would derail into. So it just makes no sense to me that people now can't defend Caitlin Clark, or that this outrage is unnecessary. Again, it depends on what this outrage is. If what I'm doing is outrage, well, then that's completely appropriate. If there's now excessiveness, right, again, like I said, suspend these players, get them out of the league. Like, I don't know what other extreme outrage is out there, but that does not seem to be the prevailing conversation. But it's undeniable that Caitlin Clark is being targeted just game after game after game. Both on the court and off the court. Both online and offline. By both random fans and actual paid media members. Like, that's where the problem comes in. I'm not saying that someone like a Caitlin Clark needs to be universally loved, because big superstars are always divisive. Not everyone loves LeBron James. Not everyone loves Michael Jordan. Not everyone loves Tom Brady. Not everyone loves Patrick Mahomes. But imagine if Patrick Mahomes now, everyone just started going after him nonstop. They were getting late, roughing the passer calls just game after game after game. We would tell everyone to grow up. Yes, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Yes, he's so popular, making all this money. Grow up. And the NFL would step in and say, this is a problem. You're putting his career at risk. And the media would freak out, and they would definitely pull, a race card. They would do all of that. It would blow up into this massive thing. You don't see them doing that to Josh Allen. Why are they doing it to Mahomes? Tell me, what's the difference? So I just reject this idea that the fans and the newcomers, if that's what the newcomers want, and that's what the newcomers are now experiencing, and they're upset or they're outraged. Like, I get it. When you invite new people into your world and now they're trying to influence it with their own nonsense, and you're like, dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. Just stop. That's not the way this sport is played. Get out of here. I understand that. You know, that's what happens when new fans of soccer come in. New football fans, right? When you're ever watching a game with someone who's not really a real fan, they start talking about stuff, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't even know what you're saying. Can you please just go away? But there's a difference, because one, the WNBA desperately needs anyone they can get, because the reality is we live in a capitalist country, and the reality is that if we weren't so dead set on trying to make the WNBA a thing, it would be done. It would be done like the XFL 100 times over. It would be done. Get out of here. No one's watching that. No one cares. It loses money. Get out. No one even knows who they are. 99% of those athletes could walk into a grocery store and nobody would know who they are. It makes no money. So they need anything they can get. This wasn't a thriving sport where they're like, well, listen, we don't need these new fans. Get out of here. You're kind of ruining the game. Not to mention the outrage is justified. They're not outraged like freaking out and saying, what the heck? Why are these women not getting paid more money? Or what the heck? Why is Caitlin Clark not starting every single game and shooting 50 times a game every single game? Like, they're not saying that. They're saying, hey, I'm a new fan. Why do they keep trying to hurt Caitlin Clark? This doesn't seem right. I watch football. I watch basketball in the NBA. I watch college. And this doesn't seem to be happening as frequently. Something seems to be going on here. And it's okay to call that out. In fact, it's appropriate to call it out. In fact, I want to live in a world and a country where people call that out. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about this whole, quote, outrage about Caitlin Clark and the flagrant fouls and Angel Reese? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.